Good morning, Mr. President. Thank you for taking your time and speaking to us. You came to Warsaw yesterday to discuss with a few of the European Union leaders strategic agenda. It's the document that every 5 years, gives EU the general direction. The top priority is defense. So, can we say that European countries understand that, all of them, and that European economy is right now on the war tracks, or we need still to get there?
I can tell you that because of the war launched by Russia against Ukraine, there is a different paradigm. There is a shift. We understand very well, the 27 leaders, the importance and the urgency. And so indeed, we have been making a lot of progress, but this is not enough. And together with the 27 head of state and head of government, we have the intention to give a very strong impetus, a very strong instruction that we want us to cooperate much more. We want to avoid the European fragmentation. We want to build more defense capabilities, and we want to support also our defense industry.
Donald Tusk, your friend, is saying that we are in the pre-war era when Europe will be able to defend itself on its own without relying on alliances.
But first, there is no doubt that we know that the transatlantic alliance is fundamental, and we want to be a reliable partner within this alliance. But on the other hand, we understand that we need to invest more, we need to cooperate more. Maybe we also need some flagship projects, European projects, so that we can give the signal to our businesses and to our citizens that this defense readiness is a fundamental priority for the years to come, not for the months to come, for the years to come.
2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or until 2029?
I'm very optimistic and confident that we have understood the urgency and the importance, and I'm certain that in 5 years or in 10 years we will see the difference. Why? Because in the past, let's be frank, the EU was seen by many political actors, maybe including in that region, as an important organization for the economic development, for the economic prosperity, and for the defense of the fundamental values. And it's important. But many, they were thinking that NATO was the pillar for the security and for the collective security, which is the case. This is the cornerstone of our collective security. But within NATO, we have to develop more political will in terms of engagement for our own security, for our own stability. This is what's at stake, and I can tell you, because I'm talking a lot with all the 27 leaders, that this is something new in comparison with a few years ago.
Yesterday in Vilnius, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was asking again Western leaders for air defense systems, as Ukraine is struggling with heavy bombardments in the last days. Also, the power plant near Kiev was destroyed. Kiev is asking for 7 out of nearly 100 Patriot systems that European countries have. Can Europe deliver that to Ukraine?
I encourage all the member states, when they have capabilities, to provide more military support to Ukraine. There is what we can do at the EU level. At the EU level, we've decided, for instance, to put in place the European Peace Facility. Very recently, we've increased the amount with an additional package of 5 billion euros. A few weeks ago, we've decided to provide 50 billion euros in macro-financial assistance for Ukraine. This is a lot, but it's not enough. And it's why we encourage all the member states to have a look at what they can do in addition. And I would like also to add that at the EU level, for the first time, we've put in place a mechanism to increase the production of ammunition, and we are making more efforts, we are making some progress. And of course, we need to act more quickly, and we also need to give clear signals of predictability to our defense businesses with fixed contracts. They need more predictability so that they know that if they invest, and when they invest, there is a certainty that the member states, the governments, they will also buy and they will purchase military equipment.
We have US aid that is still blocked in US Congress. That's approximately $60 billion. What should happen if the US does not provide those timely funds?
I do not give up, and I think we should do everything to convince the American Congress to provide military equipment. And this is a very strong argument I would like to use when I'm talking to the American Congress. This is not a question of generosity for the European continent. It's a question of security for the United States. Do they think if they send a message of weakness to Russia that it will be seen by China as a message of strength? On the contrary, I think it's very important for the like-minded partners, the United States, the European countries, and many other countries across the world, that we can show that we defend the international law, we defend the democratic principles, we defend the sovereignty, the territorial integrity of Ukraine. If not, we give the signal to the rest of the world that finally this is not a problem if you act in an unilateral way, if you violate the UN Charter. This is not so serious. This is very important for the United States themselves, that they understand the importance for themselves to support Ukraine.
Are you sure you're going to convince US Congress?
I do not give up, and you know that in the G7, for instance,
evidence is clearly against that.
I do not give up. I trust the political will of Joe Biden and his administration, but it's not enough. What they need in Ukraine, this is financial support, this is military equipment, and I do not give up. And whatever will be the decision on the United States, one thing is clear. On the EU side, we have to defend Ukraine, we have to support Ukraine, we have to do everything at the financial level, at the military level, and at the political level. This is the choice we have made with the enlargement, when we have decided to grant the candidate status to Ukraine, so that the signal is we are on the side of the Ukraine, because the Ukrainians are fighting for themselves, but also for our democratic values, for our stability, for our security.
Staying with the US, is Europe ready for the possible return of Donald Trump to the White House?
Look, with the last time, with the polls, Hillary Clinton would have been president of the United States at that time. With the polls, Brexit would not have taken place. That's why I'm always very careful when I'm looking at polls. The only polls which will have an influence and importance, it will be the elections. Let's see what will be the situation. But one thing is certain: if you ask me this question, the impact of the elections in the United States for Europe, it shows something. It shows that we have to do more, to be more master of our destiny. And that's why I believe in the concept of strategic autonomy or European sovereignty, because it means that we want to be more influential, we want to be more resilient, we want to be a more reliable partner for our ally, and that's why we need to develop our defense readiness on the one hand, and we have also to improve our competitiveness so that we strengthen our economic base, because we need money. We need money to invest to tackle all the strategic challenges ahead of us, including security and defense.
You spoke last night to the leaders about migration. After European Parliament approval of new migration and asylum pact, both Polish Prime Minister and his Hungarian counterpart said that they will not allow to apply it in their countries. Did you try to convince Donald Tusk last night? And what is the solution in this case?
I see two elements. The first one is the migration pact. It was a difficult political debate, but at the end there is a vote in the European Parliament, and there is a legal process so that a European legislation is put in place. This is one thing, and I'm in favor of the rule of law, the European rule of law. If there is a legislation, we have to respect the legislation, point one. Point two, I think Donald Tusk with other leaders, they're absolutely right that we face the instrumentalization, the weaponization of migration as a tool for launching hybrid attacks against European countries.
This is what Donald Tusk was saying yesterday, sorry to interrupt you, about growing tensions on border with Belarus, with growing numbers of refugees coming.
And in my opinion, this is the main point. This is the main point because we can see that today we are in a world where migration is used and abused by some very cynical leaders and authorities in a very cynical way to try to destabilize countries or even the European Union's project. This is not the first time that we face such an attempt, and here it is fundamental to show our full solidarity with Poland, with Donald Tusk, and we will have the occasion in the days to come with the colleagues to see what we can do to show this solidarity and to help to support those at the front line when they have to cope with such an attempt to destabilize not only Poland but to destabilize the EU through this kind of new scandalous tools that are used against us.
Far-right parties are growing in polls around Europe. Recently, we had a situation with members of the European Parliament being involved in the Russian-paid channel Voice of Europe, with one MP saying, for example, I want Ukraine to lose. Do you fear the outcome of European Parliament election?
Well, once again, I feel that we have a few weeks before the election that will take place in June, and I'm confident that many European leaders and candidates, they will explain what is the added value of this European project. Look, COVID-19, without the EU, it would have been impossible to get vaccines for our population and to overcome this terrible crisis. Look, the energy crisis, when Russia decided to launch this energy missile against the EU, we reacted with solidarity so that we managed to overcome some difficulties. There is still a lot to do in the field of energy, but we made serious progress. Look, this war by Russia against Ukraine, we took everyone by surprise, including the Kremlin, maybe including ourselves, because we are extremely united and we are putting in place a very tough regime of sanctions against Russia. We support Ukraine and we are very active within the international community to explain why we support Ukraine, why we support international law, the UN Charter, and what would be the consequences for the rest of the world if we would be weak.
Do you regret making mistake of running for the seat of European Parliament while still being president of the Council?
No, I understood very quickly after my announcement that some had the intention to use this situation to undermine the role of the European Council. And I'm very clear, when I understood that it was an attempt, I reacted by making the decision because I want to protect the European Council. I want to protect the future of this European project, and the European Council is the highest level. This is the political body which will have in charge the fundamental decisions for the future of this EU strategic agenda on the one hand, but also the decisions regarding those who will have to assume responsibilities in the future.
We have farmers' protests in Poland today. They demand dropping the Green Deal. Is European Union handling this crisis in the right way?
Look, let's be frank. At the EU level, you have institutions, the Commission, the Council, the Parliament. This is sometimes a bit complex. But indeed, I think that together with, for instance, the Polish Prime Minister, Donald Tusk, with some others, and the European Commission, and Vladimir Zelensky, there's an attempt to find a balance. On the one hand, we want to support Ukraine. This is very clear. On the other hand, we want to protect our farmers and the legitimate interests of our farmers. And our farmers in Poland and everywhere across the EU, they work a lot and they deserve fair revenues for their efforts. They are playing a very important role for our food security and food sovereignty, and this is something that we have to recognize. And that's why the European Council, when we understood that there was the need to be on the side of the farmers, we made very clear signals that we sent to the Commission, tasking the Commission and asking to the Commission to come with some concrete proposals so that we find the best possible balance. And finally, we are also working very hard to help the Ukrainians to export outside of the EU their production.
Is there a shift in strategic agenda from Green Deal into direction of defense and security? That this is the really top.
No, this, in my opinion, it would be a mistake to oppose the one against the other. I think that in terms of Green Deal and climate change, we have decided very ambitious targets a few years ago, just about 5 years ago. The question is not to put in doubt the targets. The question is to ask ourselves, what is the best way, the most efficient way to implement so that there is no an approach based on suspicion, more burdens, more red tape, but on the contrary, that we trust our farmers, that we trust our economic actors, for instance, that we trust the technological neutrality as a tool through innovation to overcome this climate challenge. I'm a firm believer that collective intelligence, innovation, it will help us to overcome this challenge, and it should be an opportunity, not a burden that would make the life of our citizens more difficult.
Final question. July the 1st, Hungary will take over the EU's presidency. Do you predict trouble?
No, because the rotating presidency has the responsibility to be an honest broker and to help us collectively to be united, and I intend on my side to work very closely with the Hungarian presidency. We know what will be the agenda, and I am confident, because we have 27 member states, that we'll do everything, like always, to be united and to make decisions.
Again, thank you very much for taking your time.